Hello and welcome to our channel. Today, we're going to do a recap of a Mexican romance and drama film called Like Water for Chocolate from 1992. But before we begin, beware of spoilers and enjoy the video. A young lady is cutting onions, expressing the influences of emotions and cooking. She begins a story with the birth of a girl named Tita. In a private ranch, Tita's mother, Alina, who was the mistress of the ranch, gives birth on the kitchen table, assisted by the house cook Nacha. Tita was born prematurely. It was almost like Tita could not resist the toxins of the onion inside her mother. Shortly after, Alina's husband dies of a heart attack when a stranger viciously tells him that his wife had an affair and one of his daughters isn't his. Alina's husband had suspicions that his wife was cheating on him, but he wasn't aware it was that intimate. The realization of his daughter not being his gave him a heart attack and killed him on spot. During the funeral, Alina explains to Nacha that she can no longer have children and the family tradition dictates that Tita, being the youngest child, cannot marry but must take care of her mother until her death. Tita's sisters Rosora and Gertrudis can marry off. After the death of her husband, Alina's secret lover leaves the ranch. Alina now has to take care of her 3 daughters and look after the ranch on her own. Soon, Alina learns to manage all of these tasks on her own and puts Nacha in charge of teaching Tita how to cook food in flavorful ways. As she grew, she learned more about cooking. Tita learns to infuse her emotions into food. She worked in the kitchen more than her sisters did. Tita's mother was preparing her to take care of her until the day she died. She practically raised Tita to be her servant and to not question her when she is ordered. Don Pascual Musquiz would often visit their ranch with his family. He was a relative of Alina's husband. Years later, a young man named Pedro Musquiz professes his love and desire to marry Tita, who feels the same way about Pedro. Pedro was in love with Tita since his childhood. He would visit Tita's ranch with his father. Everyone on the ranch was now aware of Pedro and Tita's affair. Even Tita's sisters knew about Pedro and Tita secretly liking each other. On Tita's birthday, Pedro arrives with his father Don Pascual to ask for her hand. Alina explains why Tita will not marry and instead offers Rosora. Rosora is delighted, Tita is devastated, and Gertrudis and Chencha are disappointed. Nacha overhears Pedro telling his father that he is only marrying Rosora to stay close to Tita. Nacha informs Tita of this news, but Tita is too upset to believe it. While cooking the wedding cake, Tita cries into the batter, which makes the cake salty. Nacha sympathizes with Tita and tells her to sleep because she will take care of the cake. Nacha realizes Tita's pain because the cruel mother not only stole her youngest daughter's chance at love but also forced her to cook for stolen love. During the wedding reception, Pedro tells Tita his true feelings. Suspicious that Tita and Pedro are having an affair, Alina threatens Tita to stay away from Pedro. As the guests eat the wedding cake, everyone is overcome with great sadness for lost lovers and begins to cry, followed by vomiting. Overcome with this sadness, Alina rushes to her bedroom and tearfully looks at the photo of a well-dressed mulatto man who happens to be Alina's secret lover. Tita finds Nacha dead on the floor holding a picture of her husband. Furious about the cake disaster at the wedding, Alina confronts Tita and asks her what sort of emetic she put in the cake. Tita tries to tell her about Nacha, but she smacks Tita and threatens her that she and Nacha will regret ruining Rosora's wedding. Tita then says that Nacha is dead. Tita then gets Nacha buried and prays alone on her grave. Out of love for Tita, Pedro avoids making love to Rosora or having a child with her. He keeps on making excuses that they both should wait for the wedding cake's intoxication to wear off before they plan to have a child. 3 months pass by but Pedro remains loyal. Sometime later, Rosora becomes pregnant. One day, Pedro brings Tita a bouquet of roses to celebrate Tita being the head cook. Alina commands Tita to throw them away, but Tita uses them to create a rose sauce for a quail dinner. While eating the meal, everyone except Rosora becomes filled with sensual gratification. Rosora is instead sick and leaves the table. Gertrudis becomes hot and so overheated that the shower house catches fire. She runs away naked, encountering the soldier Juan Alejandrez, fighting in the Mexican Revolution. Filled with a strong attraction to Juan, Gertrudis immediately jumps on his horse's back and leaves with him. Tita sees this but tells Alina that Gertrudis was kidnapped and the soldiers set the shower house on fire. Alina is informed by a family priest that Gertrudis was forced into prostitution. Alina burns Gertrudis' pictures, birth certificates, and everything that traces back to Gertrudis. Tita secretly sends Gertrudis her things. Rosora goes into labor but no medical officer is available to deliver her baby, so Tita takes matters into her hand. She successfully helps Rosora deliver her baby. Rosora gives birth to a sickly son named Roberto. The house doctor, Dr. John Brown, gets very impressed with Tita's nursing capabilities. During Roberto's birth celebration, the family doctor mistakenly makes Tita sad when he tells her that he imagines Tita looking very pretty when she holds her child one day. The good doctor apologizes if he said something wrong. Tita reveals to him that she can't marry or have children because it is a tradition that binds her to look after her mother until she dies. The doctor finds it very ridiculous, but Tita tells him it is what it is. Too sick to nurse Roberto, she must let Tita nurse him with Pedro monitoring. Still suspicious that Tita and Pedro are having an affair, Alina sends Rosora, Pedro, and Roberto to live in Texas. Months later, Chencha informs Alina and Tita that Roberto, unwilling to eat, has died. Tita is greatly saddened, but Alina tells her to show no emotion and to continue with the kitchen chores. This brings Tita to an angry outburst and Alina slaps her with a wooden spoon, resulting in a nosebleed. Tita runs into the dovecote and Alina has the ladder taken down. For Tita, her rite of separation is the physical removal of her person from Alina's oppressive domination and into the dovecote, where she inhabits a state of nothingness for 7 days. After a week of being in the dovecote, Tita is rescued by John Brown, who takes her to his home in Texas for treatment. Tita's rite of transition occurs with this rescue by Dr. Brown, where she eats the healing soup he has made for her and learns of the tunnel of light that she later encounters at the end of the film. Chencha goes to visit Tita and is shocked that she has recovered. Tita tells Chencha to tell Alina that she is never coming back to the ranch. Dr. Brown, who has fallen in love with Tita, proposes marriage and Tita accepts. Back at the ranch, a group of bandits invade the property, rape Chencha and kill Alina by pushing her off a cliff. Tita and Dr. Brown return to the ranch to prepare for Alina's funeral. While dressing Alina's body, Tita discovers the locket and jewelry box containing the picture of Alina's lover. Tita's rite of incorporation occurs when she returns to the ranch with her newfound freedom from Alina, where she discovers the locket her mother had been hiding, which contained pictures of another man. Pedro and Rosora, now pregnant again, return for Alina's funeral, and Rosora's water breaks. Rosora goes through difficult labor but gives birth to a healthy baby girl named Esperanza. However, Esperanza refuses to be fed by Rosora, so Tita once again takes on the duties of nursing. Due to complications in childbirth, Rosora is no longer able to bear children. To Tita and Pedro's dismay, Rosora imposes the family tradition on Esperanza. Upon finding out about Tita's engagement with Dr. Brown, Pedro becomes jealous, and he sneaks into Tita's room to make love with her. During a large social dinner, Gertrudis, now a military general, returns to the ranch with Juan Alejandrez, now her husband, along with their squad. Due to her guilt, Tita begins to have illusions of Alina chastising her for sleeping with Pedro. Tita suspects that she is pregnant with Pedro's child, and tells Gertrudis her concerns. Gertrudis advises Tita to tell Pedro. Gertrudis reminds Tita that the love she and Pedro share is true and that Rosora's feelings are irrelevant because she knew that Tita was in love with Pedro but married him anyway. Tita is once again confronted with the illusion of Alina berating her. This time Tita stands up to Alina, confronting her about her affair and then banishing her. While singing up to Tita's window with Juan, Pedro catches on fire. Tita treats Pedro's wounds until Dr. Brown shows up. Pedro, still jealous of Tita's engagement with Dr. Brown, wants her to break it off and threatens to tell Dr. Brown about their one-night stand and her pregnancy. Tita tells Pedro she's not pregnant, it was a false alarm. However, out of guilt, Tita tells Dr. Brown of her infidelity and apologizes for hurting him. Dr. Brown accepts her apology and states that he still wants to be with her, but he will accept whatever decision she makes regarding their relationship. Rosora confronts Tita about her relationship with Pedro. Rosora threatens to kick Tita off the ranch if she goes anywhere near her daughter Esperanza, and dictates that Esperanza will never marry per family tradition. Many years later, Esperanza marries Dr. Brown's son. It is revealed through gossip that Tita stayed on the ranch to fight for Esperanza's right to marry, and Pedro wakes up to find Rosora dead from an unknown gastrointestinal illness, releasing Esperanza from the family tradition. Pedro tells Tita that, with Esperanza married off, they can rekindle their romance. After the wedding, they both go to the guest house to make love. While getting intimate, Pedro has a heart attack and dies. Devastated, Tita commits suicide by swallowing matches, causing her body to spontaneously combust and the room to catch on fire, which spreads throughout the entire property. The young woman narrating the whole story reveals that she is the daughter of Esperanza. She reveals that when Esperanza returned home from her honeymoon to find the property burned to ashes, she discovered Tita's cookbook, which she kept and passed down to her daughter. That's all for today. If you liked this video, then please like, share, and comment. Press the bell icon so you don't miss any updates, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Take care and see you next time.